Embark on your journey, the path you must take. Though hate may surround you, it's not your fate to forsake. Co-creating your destiny in the dance of time. The guiding light within you ignites the sublime. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light, shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. In the depths of your being, the truth resides. Embrace your power, let your spirit rise. With every step forward, you transcend the expanded conscious community we commend. Through trials and triumphs, your soul evolves in the symphony of life, where every note resolves. Listen to the whispers of your inner voice. In unity and love, let your heart rejoice. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light, shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. It is the light, the guiding light from the heart and soul. Don't lose control. Let it be the light, shining bright, unlocking potential beyond belief, taking flight. As we gather together in this sacred space, embracing transformation with grace. Life Coach Malachi leads the way in unlocking potential day by day. One faith, embracing transformation with grace. Life Coach Malachi leads the way, unlocking potential day by day.
I hope y'all ready. We got a good show. Make sure you tell everybody, like, subscribe, send it out. It's going to be an amazing one. It's going to be amazing right after this.
Big clips to use it as an intro so before the show starts.
This show or our show?
Yeah, on your show.
Okay. The word conscience is conscience. Science means knowledge. With knowledge. Knowledge transcends faith. Conscienza in Latin. With, con means with, knowledge. I want you to seek knowledge beyond what you believe. And I want you to allow knowledge to manifest in and minister to you. The only way you can know is to remember, because we come here knowing. Between the womb and the tomb, we forget what we know and start believing what we're told. So reconnect with yourself, reclaim, remember your dismembered self and soul, the part of you that has been fragmented. Pull it all together in you, for you, to you, through you, and as you. And you'll experience the best part of being that's possible. And I want to help you do it.
Wow. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That is something that is truly special to me. That is one of the last interviews that Bishop had. It was probably like a 3-hour interview, but that's something that I enjoy. And I will play that just as an intro, because that's what expanded consciousness means to me, in the sense that we are here to expand. It's something that, there's something that's already within you. And we are here to do things to actually let some things go as people are deconstructing from their belief systems. And we're here to reconnect to our divine, authentic self. Tonight's going to be so amazing. I promise you. And I know I started so on time that it's making some of our people not show up. They're going to be pouring in at 9, which on the East Coast, I know it's later. But anyways, there's enough in the room to go ahead and see what's going on. We're going to holler at DJ. Hey, what's up, D?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, family. We have everybody's in the building. Sasha, pardon my tardiness. My cat locked my Apple account out, and I couldn't get in my computer because my cat thinks she's a human. So she says hi. She's over here on the other side.
Christopher.
Yep. So we got Christopher.
What did that say?
Let me go back because Sasha did it again, y'all. She's on one today. Love and peace, family. One love. Yes, we must learn to love ourselves first. Put ourselves first. I love that.
Yes. Christopher, all the way from Flint, Michigan. Got the radio show that comes on, I think at 4 or 4:30. You can get that online.
Yeah, Chris, put your information. Put that information in the comments. We'll post it for you. All right. And then we have Lindy. Hi, Lindy. Good to see you. And of course, Mother Gwen's in the building. And then Phyllis. Phyllis is always in the building. Hold on if I can get it to act right. There we go. Phyllis, always working or on the road. She's either working or on the road, but she's always tuned in. Glad to have you, Phyllis.
She's a massage therapist.
Yes. Yes.
She does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mother White, it's great to see you, ma'am. Great to see you. Good evening.
Uh-oh.
There goes Sasha.
Oh, Sasha did that. I'm like, what just happened?
Sasha took me off the stage.
Oh, okay. She hit some button.
Me off the stage. Sasha's on one tonight, y'all.
Thanks to Cat up in here.
She like, let me produce the show tonight. So rude. So hey,
Get
Rose.
your kids in order.
Right, my dear Rose. I've spent most of the day not home, so that's why she's doing this. So Rose, thank you. It's good to see you, family. And for Chris, is hanging with Chris Lee, and that's WKUF LP in Flint, and that is every Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So we'll post that also in the Patreon and everything, so everybody can support. And of course, don't forget to like and share so we can get the word out.
All right, I'm making sure, our other people, matter of fact, I'll pull up the Patreon and yell at them to come on and join us, because I think this is going to be amazing. I want to really give him plenty of time to do his thing. I'm not sure if anyone really was able to read it, but regardless, I'm going to just let him completely tell it. One of the things I'll say is that a little over a year ago, but it was about a year ago, maybe last summer, I went out to the forest, which I've mentioned, which is where we will retreat. And as I was coming out of the forest main kind of space, and I walked around, and all of a sudden I seen a group of black men. And I was like, what are y'all doing? We just think like, what are you guys doing? Because it was just so, I was just moved in a way, because that was kind of my first time that I was really getting engaged with the forest. I had went out, and it was really new to me, and to see them was really, really, really refreshing, because it's such a wonderful and beautiful place. And I met the guys, and he was there with a special group. And I forget, he'll have to tell you the name. It was like same gender loving. I just know all of them were hella professional. Like, these guys were doing some things in the world. Like, whoa, it was, and I still keep in touch with a couple of the guys. And I just was so moved, because they were there for a retreat, and the host of the retreat was Jerome. He was there and hosting these guys. And it was so beautiful. And it was like 6 months, maybe 9 months later, I'm on my YouTube looking and looking and looking. And then all of a sudden, I see Jerome, and he's talking about an NDE. And I was like, first I seen him, I was like, wait, I know him. And I was just flabbergasted when I seen him, just because it was just like, oh my God, I know this guy. This is cool. And the first thing I thought about is he likes hot sauce, different kind of hot sauce, and he left a hot sauce there. And somebody was like, hey, he left this hot sauce. So I just was like, okay, maybe one day. He's in Oklahoma City. Maybe I'll see him one day. But immediately I was like, I have to have him. He would be so perfect for all of Expanded Consciousness. He would be great just to bring on. And here we are. We are here, and I'm excited, and I hope you guys are. So I would like to definitely bring to our space, into our room, Brother Jerome.
Hey everyone.
Thank you so much for coming. We finally had the opportunity to get together and have you on the show so that you can, the story you have, I think is so impactful, but I think more important is what you discovered. And that's one thing I tell people about, people have these, let's say, out of body experiences. People can have near-death experiences in terms of they almost die. But here's the thing that I tell people whenever people tell me like, yeah, I had NDE. My thing is like, what did you learn? Like, what's the message? Because my thing is like, what makes an NDE, besides it being clinical and the doctor's been around and saying, hey, this person is gone. That's one thing that from my qualifications of an NDE. But the other big thing is, what do you bring back for us normies? Like the people that have not experienced that, the people that don't know or understand it. And so that's one of the things that just moves me is listening to these stories. But I'm going to give you the stage. And first, before we get deep into that, I always ask people this. I'd like to know just your belief system and how it started, like in terms of like when it comes, we're Black. So 9 times out of 10, we were somehow connected to a church. And so like, did you have that experience?
Yes, I was very well. First of all, thank you for having me here, and I'm excited to talk about. I like the part that you talked about. I am going to talk about my ND, but the really delicious part, the part that is the most transformative and healing for people, it's the part I usually don't get to talk about, which is what happened to me after the NDE. So I'm really excited to get to talk about that with you today.
Man, I'm
But
excited.
answer your question, yes, I was very heavily involved in church. I grew up a very interesting mixture. I grew up Baptist and Lutheran. So my mother was Baptist and my father was Lutheran, and I had to go back and forth to the two churches. And that created now I understand that was kind of my soul's desire, because it created a very interesting foundation, because it made me question a lot, because I was seeing two different realities almost, right? I was seeing this reality from the Baptist church. I was in the choir, I was in the youth group all the time, I was going a lot, I was going Sundays, I was going to the lock-ins and the choir trips and all of that. I was very heavily involved in there. And then also in the Lutheran side, I was also involved. They had like a whole youth organization that is international. And so I actually made it all the way to the international board. I was on the international board for the Lutheran youth organization. I was a regional representative. And then on the national side, I was the president of the Arkansas-Oklahoma Synod. So I was and this is when I was like teens. So I was and I had to travel the world and back and forth with this. So I was very involved with the church. And so that portion of it is very much a foundation of how I began before this.
Okay, so it kind of really set the stage because your gifts, because that's what's important to me. It's like you had this experience, you had this experience, but what's really important is what you discovered about you, but you discovered about us, and you are able to bring this healing to the world. So if all y'all out there, I'm here to tell you that being closer connected to a person like this, even in this conversation, I just feel it and know that you're going to receive something. Like you are going to receive something if you're opened up and allow. So, but you go ahead and just do your thing, sir.
Okay. Well, I'll give you just a brief talk about the near-death experience, because again, that information is out there in many different places, and I've done many different interviews about it. So we can talk about as much of it as you want, but
Just
it's the
you're
part
right.
afterwards.
Just do the brief, just to get to the heart of it. You discovered, you hit it. You know what I mean? This is what happened, because it's just like a shock and awe, but you go for it and just allow spirit and guides to use you, because you're so connected to them anyway.
So I had just graduated from college, and I went to college in Atlanta and got my first professional job in DC. So I had just moved to DC and was working in my job. And there's a few things to understand. Like my job was working as a counselor and a case manager for Black men who were at risk for HIV and AIDS, and who also had HIV and AIDS. And that was not what I had seen myself doing in the world, or what I really wanted to do at that time. What I really wanted to do was I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a famous singer. But I thought, I'd go make some money and then chase my dreams once I got financially stable. So this is what I was doing in the world. And about 6 months into this process, um, probably it was around like about 2 weeks before New Year's Eve, I started to kind of feel a little ill, and just kind of like a fever here and there. And so luckily, the job I was working, we got, government holidays. So, the Christmas time to New Year's, we were basically off those whole 2 weeks. And so I was kind of at home trying to recuperate, doing the things that I knew how to do to try to get myself well. At that time, I was, again, just freshly out of college. I think I was 23. Uh, and so this involved like, chicken soup and um, lots of water and things like that. And I just wasn't progressing in the way that I wanted to progress. And by the time it came to New Year's Eve, and New Year's Eve was very special to me. It's always been a special thing to me. I really like to celebrate New Year's Eve. I always believed it was a marker into a new life, like that New Year's was the beginning of a new chapter of life. And so New Year's Eve was always very special to me. But this New Year's Eve, I was feeling horrible and I couldn't go anywhere. And was like really just feeling very, very bad. And I had noticed that I was getting some swelling in my body. And so I called my mom, who is a doctor and a physician, and she lived in Oklahoma. And I was like, "Hey, can you, prescribe me something up here so I can finally get some medicine? Because I have to actually go to work in a few days, and I want to be well, and I'm just not getting any better." And she let me know, like, "Hey, I can't prescribe across state, so you probably need to go to the emergency room really quickly and just be seen really quickly. They'll be able to give you something, some antibiotics or something really quickly, and you'll be fine." And so after she hung up, it almost kind of escalated downwards. I began to feel an immense amount of pain. And what I thought was like, this is the flu. This is an intense flu. And that's what it kind of was feeling like to me. And so I had a friend come take me to the emergency room. And when I went into the emergency room, the doctor, came in. That was the emergency room doctor. She came in and she looked at me and she was like, "Okay, what do you think is happening and what's going on with you?" And so I told her, and I was like, "I think it might be the flu. And can you just give me something so I can get, better and go home because I have to go to work?" And she said, "Okay, I'm going to run some tests and we'll make sure it's the flu. And then we'll just get you what you need. We're not trying to keep you if you don't need to be here." And when she she left for like, a few hours or so while they read the test. And again, I just felt like I was going downwards and I was just feeling just so much in pain, so hurt. And when she came back into the room hours later, instead of by herself, she had a team of doctors with her. And she also had the phone in her hand. This is before, everybody had cell phones. This was it was January 1st. So by the time I got into the emergency room, it was now New Year's Day. So this was January 1st of 2004. And this is before everybody had cell phones and everything. So I didn't have a cell phone or anything like that. And so she had the physical hospital phone in her hand. And she said, "You have a call, son. You need to take it." And I was like, "What?" I was very confused. Why do I have this call? And took the call. And on the phone was my mother. She had, called the hospital and to make sure I had arrived or whatever. And she was crying. And all she said was, "I'll be there in the morning. Hold on." And she hung up. And as soon as I heard that, and I heard her voice and I heard her crying, my mother, who was this physician who was always kind of my rock, my litmus test of especially with things around health, of what was okay and when something was not. She was crying, and why was she coming in the morning? And I just immediately had this feeling like, oh, this isn't the flu. And when I kind of processed that and handed the phone back to the doctor. The doctors kind of surrounded my bed, and the doctor said to me, son, you don't have the flu. We ran some tests, and it looks like you have pneumonia, anemia, pancreatitis, a fluid-packed lung, kidney failure, a parasite in your stomach. And if all that's not delicious enough already, you also have AIDS. And we think you have about a week to live. We're going to try everything we can to prolong it a bit, but you may want to consider getting your affairs in order. And then they left me in the hospital room. They went about to get ready for whatever they were getting ready to do, and I was left alone in the hospital bed. And here I am, I think I was 24, being told I was about to die and that I need to get my affairs in order. And on my deathbed, while I was waiting in that hospital, and I wasn't even fully in the hospital room yet. I was like literally in the emergency rooms. When I was laying there, I had what's called a life review. Now, I didn't understand what it was called at the time. I learned this much after my experience, after talking to other people who've had similar experiences. But I had what's called a life review. And what happened was my entire life began to flash in front of my eyes. And I began to see the decisions I had made in my life, the decisions I didn't make in my life, how I had lived my life. And as I was when I say I began to see it, I began to see everything in detail. Like, it was like I was watching a movie screen of my life. And as I began to see this, there were some questions that began to come up through my being. And the questions were kind of like, hey, had I enjoyed my life? Was I happy with my life? Was I happy with who I had been? Did the people in my life, did I really let them know what I really felt about them and how I really cared about them? Or was I going to die without them having to really know what I felt? Did I feel like I deposited the purpose for which I came to the planet for? Did I feel like I was leaving having fully deposited that in the world? And, had I really ever been myself? And as these questions began to circle and this film began to play in my life, what I began to realize was a few things. So number one, I wasn't afraid even though I had been told I was getting ready to die, there wasn't a lot of fear I had experienced around that, because at that time, even though I had a foundation of growing up in the church and all of this, I had been on a spiritual journey, and I had an awakening before that, many years before that. And so I had known and believed that I was a soul and that I was going to continue after death. Like a death wasn't an end to what I was. I didn't know exactly what all was involved, but I knew that death was not an end to me. And so I wasn't there wasn't a lot of fear around that. But as this life review started going and these questions started coming up, and I started to think about the questions and watch the life review with these questions in mind, I began to get horrified. And I was horrified because I realized that the answer to all those questions was no. I had never really been myself. I had suppressed myself a lot, particularly my sexuality and my spirituality, like what I had been led to know. I was hiding a lot because I didn't want my family to reject me. I didn't want my culture to reject me. I didn't want to be abandoned or shamed or criticized. And so I never really fully lived in that truth and expressed it fully. I always kind of put masks on or only let select people in select circumstances see that side of me. I wasn't really fully living my dreams and doing what I really wanted to do. And I didn't feel like I had deposited my purpose on the planet. There was still so much left that I hadn't really done. Not because I was young, but just because I wasn't taking action towards it. I was procrastinating on it from, fear of what if I didn't make it, or what would people think if I really went after this, or also socialization of thinking I needed to do life a certain way, make money first, and all of that. So as I began to think about that, all of these questions, answers for questions of no's, I began to be very horrified, because what I realized was I was getting ready to die, not having ever truly lived Jerome's life. The one opportunity that I had been given to be a Jerome and to really live Jerome's life fully, I was getting ready to die not having accomplished that. And I didn't want to die like that. I did not want to die having never really truly been me. And so I made a decision on my deathbed that I was going to survive, because I wanted to face that life review and those questions and be able to say yes to every single one of them. So I made a decision that I was going to survive, and I was going to live, and I was going to heal. And my doctor kept saying, this is impossible. This isn't, you may be able to survive. If you do survive, you'll be on dialysis for the rest of your life. 'Cause they also put me on dialysis after this night. When I survived past the 7 days, I was put on dialysis, and I was in the hospital for an entire month. And I began to throw everything that I had ever learned about manifestation and the law of attraction and creating our own reality at this situation, because I had been a student of this before. And after my awakening, I had been studying this. I had been mentored by some, of the master teachers and things. And so I believed that I could create my reality, but I had used it, to get money enough to go to the movies on a Friday night, or to get a parking space in front of the mall when I was running late. But now, like, if this was true, if I really did create my life, I was going to have to create a miracle for myself. And so I began to throw everything I knew about creating and the law of attraction. Just want to make sure I'm not frozen here. I look frozen. Can you all still see me?
No, you're still there. You're still good. We're just into it now. You got us deep.
Okay, sorry. It looks frozen to me on the screen. So one of the things that I began to do was I began to throw everything at it that I understood, the visualizations, the meditation, the appreciation journal, the creating a positive energy bubble around you, all these type of things that I was reading about and hearing about and studying at the time I began to throw at it. I was in the hospital for a month, and released from the hospital after that month and on dialysis. And then 2 months after I was released from the hospital and went home, my body fully healed. My kidneys fully came back. I was taken off of dialysis, and they couldn't find HIV or AIDS in my system anymore. And I was being called a miracle child, right? And they were telling me, like, we don't understand what happens, but this is a miracle. And I began to feel like this very high vibration of just, I know I got it. Like, I understand. This is before The Secret came out, but I understand the real secret to life. And I understand what this is all about. And I'm a living witness to this. And I just felt like I had it all figured out until I found myself back in that same hospital a year and a half later with the exact same illnesses and diagnosis, to the T cell count, as a matter of fact. And this time, instead of being given 7 days to live, I had 48 hours. And the doctors thought I had 48 hours, and they were going to try and do this emergency surgery on me to try and prolong it for a day. And when they left my room this time to go prep for the surgery, and I was by myself, instead of a life review, I had two things happen for me. One, I began to remember this woman who was my minister of the spiritual center that I was attending while I was in college. This was my first introduction to what was called New Thought at the time. And there was a woman who ran a spiritual center called Hillside in Atlanta, and she was called Dr. Barbara, and she had changed her name. Her name had been changed for her because she became an African chief, and so her name became Nana Tumwa. And I remember that she had, while I was in school, there was a period of time where she had been diagnosed with 2 terminal diseases, and she healed herself from those terminal diseases. And she came and she talked to us about what she had done to heal herself. And I remember her saying that the illness is not, the root cause of the illness is always something going on with your spirit. And your spirit has been trying to tell you something, and you've not been listening. You've not been paying attention to it. And one of the keys for her was she finally paid attention to what her spirit was trying to tell her, and she addressed it and resolved it, and she healed. So when I was on my deathbed this time, I knew that this was not a coincidence. There was no way that I was back here again after I had fully healed with the exact same illnesses to the T cell count. And instead of, again, a week, now I have 2 days. I have 48 hours. And I knew then that this was a message. My soul was trying to speak to me some type of way through my body. And it was trying to get my attention to something that I had obviously been trying very hard not to listen to. So I just had a question. That was the second thing, that I just had this question. I obviously thought I had known what it took to heal and what it took to manifest a really well life, but I obviously didn't. And I wanted to know what it took to really heal when we become sick, and what it took to live a really good life. Like a life that not only am I happy with, but tastes really delicious to me. And I wanted to know not just the quick answer, I wanted to know the deep answer, because the quick answer got me back in the hospital. I wanted to know the deep answer. And so I asked the universe as a whole, like, I'm here, I'm fully surrendered, I'm not going anywhere. Speak to me. What is it you want me to know? And how do I heal? And how do I really live well and happily forevermore? And the moment I asked that question, I began to have a near-death experience. And I call it like a nearly dying experience. And the only reason I call it that is because there was nobody else in the room that could justify that I died. But this was the experience for me. I began to I felt my soul leave the body. And when it left the body, I began to feel this immense sense of oneness. Like I was everything and everything was me. And the walls and the lights and everything, like all of it was me. And that we're all one. And I felt this immediate sense. There was a sense of the brightest light I'd ever seen. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to explain because it was the same and happening at the same time. It was the brightest light I'd ever seen and the darkest dark I'd ever seen. And the moment that experience started to happen, I started to feel this immense sense of, the best way I can describe it is love. And not this love that we call like affection, but this love of like, that's absolute well-being. That's absolute, all is well and will be well. All is worthy, and especially all is worthy about me. This immense sense of ease and appreciation and freedom and trust, and it was just absolute well-being at fullness. And as soon as I felt that, I felt this presence come up, and it felt like me, but the most sacred and holy me that I'd never been, by the way, the me that had no neurosis or anything. And I knew that this me was both my higher self and it was source at the same time. Meaning, what people, they use the word God, but it was so much more than what the term God encompasses. It was so much more than that. It had no limits to it. It had no kind of form. It just was. And it spoke. And it spoke to me and it said that these two things. One was that the key to that I was asking about, the key to healing my body and creating a really delicious life, a life that will feel like my own heaven on earth, was to come back home to my soul, that I had left it and that I needed to come back home to it. And that the way to come back home to it was through the practice of self-love. And that I didn't know shit about that, about what that practice actually was yet, but that I was going to learn. And that what I was going to learn, I was going to be asked to teach. And it did say shit, by the way. And the other part that it said to me was that I had known a lifetime of trying to push and force and try to make life be good to me. But I didn't know anything about how to let life be good to me. And that it was designed to be good to me. That was life was created for. And I had to be in the space of letting it, and it would prove it to me. And that I was going to learn about that as well. And so after it said that, we had this conversation, I began to go back in my body and I began to sense come out of the experience of oneness. And I could tell now I can tell when my hands are on the bed and my hand stops and the bed starts, and the walls are the walls and they're not me. And I knew I had just had this big wake up call moment, that I've been given this chance, to change it. I knew if I stayed the same, I was going to die. But if I took this path of coming back home to my soul, I was going to live, and not just live, but live deliciously. And that I was going to be different, that everything about me was going to be different, almost as if the me that was in this experience was going to have to die. And I knew then, it was kind of like a red pill, blue pill moment. And I knew that I wanted to live, but I was horrified at the same time because I had no idea of what this journey was going to be about. I had no idea of what it was going to ask of me. I just knew that it was going to happen. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I literally offered my life over in that moment. I offered my life over to the journey of coming back to the soul. And my life became, from that moment on, it became a masterclass in understanding who we really are as a soul, what the soul really is, what love actually is, what the real secret to the law of attraction actually is, and what illness is, why we actually get sick, and what it actually takes to heal ourselves once we do. And that became a multi-year journey and a very mystical journey. And from that experience, so much transformation happened, and so much healing happened, and so many mystical experiences happened, where I began to not only heal my body again over many years. It took many, many, many years afterwards, not because it takes that long, just because there was a lot of undoing and relearning I had to go through. But I not only began to heal my body, but I began to transform my life into heaven on earth, into an experience so delicious that than I could have ever previously imagined was even possible before for me. Um, and that's when I began to do the work in the world to teach other people how to do the same. But it was the journey after my near-death experience where the real transformation and healing and mystical stuff really happened. And that's what I'm excited to talk about with you now.
Sometimes we have to just, the oneness came to me today, and it was working through the trees. And so I began to research about the trees and it's the mitochondria that connects to the roots. So fungus basically connects to the roots, is the communication tools that the trees use to communicate to each other. Right. And so we are the same. And so thank you for that. And I hope everyone that is listening realize and understand that the value of this. And so make sure you take it in. And that part right there has already just got me just connected. So this is the part that I am excited for. And that is because we hear people talk about, Jerome, we hear so many people talk about self-love. We hear somebody talk about love yourself. We don't really know or understand what that means, brother.
Mm-hmm.
So help us out, please.
Well, in order to understand what loving ourselves means, first I had to understand what love is. And that was the first part of my journey, is when my intuitive and psychic gifts opened up a few years after my near-death experience. And it happened I first began as an energy healer, and I started studying energy healing because during my first near-death experience and my first healing, I was referred to an energy healer, and that was my first experience ever with anything like that. I had never heard of an energy healer before. I never experienced that before. And this energy healer was just a beautiful experience. And so I wanted to study that as I was trying to heal myself in this second part of my journey. And I began taking classes to become certified as an energy healer at this center in DC, outside of DC in Maryland, at the Tacoma Park Metaphysical Chapel. And one of the things they would have us do was we were to lay our hands on the person we were working with. And you were just really at the time, you're just really supposed to just kind of feel for the energy of their system or the energy of source, and just feel for it. Just feel their body and feel it coming through you. But what would happen when I would put my hands on the person was two things. One, as soon as I touched someone, their body would start talking to me. It would literally speak in a voice. And it would tell me where they had split from their soul and how that split had caused the illness. And then the second thing that would happen was I could feel their soul. I could feel it. Like I could literally, all within me, I could feel the soul of them, not their personality, not their identity, not their body, but it was their soul. And no matter who they were, what they were going through, what age they were, what gender or race or sexuality they were, this soul essence always felt the same. And it felt like what I had felt when I was on the other side during my second near-death experience. It felt like this immense sense of well-being, this immense sense of worthiness, this immense sense of empowerment, this sense of freedom, this sense of ease. And their body was telling me like where they were either connected in harmony with this or not. And that also, it wasn't just this energy, but it was this consciousness. It was this way of thinking. And that it always thought about them, and it always thought about what they were going through in their lives from a space of this love. Like it was thinking all is going to be well. It was thinking how valuable and beautiful and worthy this person was. It was thinking, appreciating the value that this experience had for them and their growth. And so this began to really teach me as I began to go on to get certified in this, and I began to work with people as an energy healer first for many years. I began to understand, oh, this is what the soul is. This is it. This is the soul. It is love itself. And it is unconditionally love, meaning it never wavers from that. It never lowers from that. It never strays from that. So there is this part of us, this what we call the soul. Some people call it the higher self. There's this part of us that is love itself. It is the vibration and the energy of love. And it is the consciousness of love. So it is the energy and consciousness of love. And that was my first understanding of like, okay, this is what love is, right? This is what it is. It is us. We are made of it. We are made from it. And we are made for it. And it also taught me about two things. One, you asked me what loving ourselves means. So I was taught, like most of us, and I thought, growing up in my life, that loving myself meant buying myself something at the mall when I really wanted it, or getting a massage, or saying an affirmation or something like that. But when I began to have these experiences through energy healing, and then it further amplified when I began to channel, when my guides began to speak to me, and then they began to speak through me. And they first started speaking through me when I would start journaling. And I began to hear their consciousness, like what they thought about me, how they spoke. And again, it was very similar to this consciousness of love. And I began to understand, like, oh, okay, love is this very high, uplifted, elevated energy, positive energy, this very high, uplifted, elevated consciousness. And what I mean by consciousness is, I mean perception, like how you think about things, like how you view things, how you think about topics. So for instance, we have many topics in our life. So let's say relationships, right? Your higher self is viewing relationships from, no matter what you're experiencing, it has value to you, it's adding to you. It's viewing the person that you're experiencing a relationship with from a space of worthiness and appreciation and acceptance. No matter what they're doing, that's how it's viewing them. And it's not necessarily viewing it from a space that allows you to be harmed, right? But it does not waver from the seeing them from a space of appreciation and acceptance and worthiness. And it doesn't waver ever from this space of seeing what's happening from that. And it doesn't waver from the trust that all will be well some type of way and things are going to work out in your favor. And what I understood then that loving ourselves is about harmonizing, getting in alignment with that consciousness and that energy. Because when we are in harmony with how we perceive things, when we're in harmony with especially how we perceive ourselves and the things in our lives, And when we are inner vibration, and what vibration really is your mood or your attitude or your emotional feeling. Really more so the emotional feelings that you have that create a mood or an attitude about something. When your moods dominantly are in harmony with with love, you vibrate and you emit the consciousness and the vibration of love. So you are literally radiating love. So you are becoming love. And that is what loving yourself is about. It is about harmonizing with your higher self, the way you think, what you think about, how you think about that thing, the choices that you're making for yourself, the behaviors that you're taking, and the lifestyle that you live, so that you are in harmony with your higher self and that you are emitting love instead of emitting shame, emitting fear, emitting disappointment, emitting unfulfillment, emitting resentment. And this goes back to, again, with the energy, what I was seeing in the body. What I saw was when we are out of alignment with love chronically, like when we're thinking about things in a way that make us feel resentment a lot, or frustration or worry, when we have a topic in our lives that is out of alignment with love, and if it stays out of alignment for a while, that begins to break the body down, and that becomes the root cause of illness. And that's why the illness manifests. It's manifesting from the misalignment. You can call it the fragmentation if you want. You can call it the disconnection. And what I was seeing in people's bodies was the different ways they were misaligned. It never was just like one way. Always several ways that had kind of congregated together to produce this energy and vibration that was manifesting illness. And I began to see that when people would resolve that, when they would resolve, like, oh yeah, I've been feeling scared for a long time, like about this. And the other aspect of this was the disease wasn't the illness that they manifested didn't come out of nowhere. It was coming from this energy that they were holding that they weren't aware of, because we really haven't been taught to be aware of the energy we're holding, the moods and attitudes we're holding. And we haven't been taught that you're supposed to feel good. You're supposed to hold moods and attitudes that feel good to you the majority of the time. And when you don't, you're out of alignment and you're going to be uncomfortable. And that uncomfortability is going to eventually manifest as being uncomfortable in your body through an illness. And what I was seeing then was that, okay, loving ourselves is this. It is this practice of thinking thoughts, making choices, offering behaviors, and living a lifestyle that allow me to feel good and to be in resonance with my higher self so that I emit love. So it was this thing about, and when I began to understand that, I began to help people. One, I began to help them heal. Like, we could talk about, oh, okay, so here's where you're out of alignment with love. And here's what that looks like. You've been really sad for a long time because you felt like you weren't able to get the job you really wanted, but you carried that sadness for a long time, and now it's manifesting in your body as this cancer. You've been feeling restricted, like you haven't been being, like you couldn't be your full self. You've been feeling like you couldn't really say what you really wanted to say. You were afraid that if you said what you wanted to say, it would hurt people's feelings or you may be punished for it. So that began to make you feel in bondage, and you manifested this illness that is a reflection of that. And that's another thing, that illness was a reflection. It was like a mirrored, like a mirror. It was like it's like a mirror in front of you. we think it's this thing to fight and attack and get rid of, but it's really just reflecting back to you this energy you've been holding. And it's like, if you wanted to change the reflection, you don't change the mirror. You change what the mirror is reflecting. And so I understood then that if I change the energy within me, one, I began to understand that, oh, I have some energies in me that are out of alignment with love, and they are the root cause of the kidney failure and the AIDS and things like that. Beyond what the doctors were calling, this was the real diagnosis, right? This way of thinking and this way of vibrating that I had been carrying was disconnecting me from my soul. And this disconnection was the real diagnosis of what was happening. And if I could address that disconnection and reconnect, and not just reconnect for a second, but begin to live an entire life where I stayed connected, then I would heal. And that was what Source was telling me in my near-death experience about coming back home to my soul. I needed to come back to the way my soul thinks. I needed to come back home to the way my soul feels. And I needed to come back home to the way my soul wanted to move through my life and live my life. And that is what I was seeing in the people that I was working with, right? That was the same thing. And that began to be my understanding of like, oh, this is how illness happens. And this is what actually needs to happen to heal the body. Reconnection. And it's not just reconnection, it's really like re-resonance or re-harmony. You need to be more in harmony with how your soul thinks. Because when you're not, you're split. Because your soul is literally a part of you. It is you. And so but it's the non-physical part of you. It is the energy part of you. It is the unseen part of you. But it is the largest part of you. So when you're split from the soul, you're literally split from the largest part of you, and you're not whole. You're split. And there can't be wellness in a body where there's not wholeness. So in order to come back to wholeness, you have to reharmonize with yourself and be one. And then there will be wholeness, and then the body begins to heal. And so this was what my journey began to become about, was learning, like, where were the splits in me? Where were the splits? What was causing the splits? And what did I need to do to heal the split so that I was no longer split, but I was one? My higher self and my physical self were one consciousness. They were in harmony together. And the energy of my higher self and the energy that I was carrying in my body every day was one. And so that became what my journey became about. And when I began to do that, miraculous things happened in both my health and in the manifestation of what was happening in my life.
How long did that take from the time you started?
God, it took me, I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say this. It took me 20 years.
Something told me 20 years. No, that's a 20-year thing.
But it's not a 20-year thing.
Correct.
It's a 20-year thing because I didn't have anybody like me out there at that time talking about this. This is before YouTube and all that was out in the beginning, before people were sharing their stories about stuff like this. Also, I was very hard-headed. I was getting guidance at times to do things, but I lived in such immense shame and fear for many years that those energies keep you from receiving the guidance that's being given. And so you have to be in a space where those are disconnection energies. And this is another thing people often talk about, like, why I can't hear from my guides, or I'm asking my higher self for all this stuff. And they say if you pray or you ask, it's supposed to be answered, and I'm not hearing. And this is the part that I learned in my journey that's not spoken about a lot, is that you are always being given guidance. You are always being given the solutions. but they exist on a certain frequency level. And if you're not on that frequency level, you can't hear them. It's like a radio station. If they're being broadcast, they're literally being broadcast to you. And they're being broadcast to you at 105.1, right? But when you're not in love, like you're not in the consciousness of love consistently, and you're not in the vibration of love consistently, you're going to be at 90.8, right? And you're trying to hear what's on 105.1, and that doesn't happen. You have to attune yourself. You have to tune yourself up to that station and that frequency to hear that. And the moment you do, it's like, just like with a radio station, you don't turn to that radio station and then it's 15 minutes before you hear anything. The moment you turn to that radio station is playing. And it's been playing, right? And it keeps playing. And this is the same thing with the guidance and the solutions and things. You tune yourself to love. And if you stay there, you get everything you need. But you have to understand, if you're not getting it, it's not because it's not happening. It's not because you're not worthy of it. It's not because of any of that. You are loved. You are seen as ultimately worthy. Worthiness itself. When you ask, it is given. But you have to attune yourself to your higher self, which is the frequency that allows you to receive everything that's been given to you. And that was also part of the journey, right? This is what loving ourselves is. This is why I was saying I learned it was so much more than what we've been taught. Loving ourselves is about attuning ourselves to the frequency of love that allows us to receive.
Am I doing that? I mean, sometime as I deal with clients and talk to people, because there's something you said, and I want people to get this. He said consistent with love, consistently there. And what he means by that is not saying that you haven't never been there. You've been there. But it's the consistency of being able to be in that vibration, which is a frequency, which is positive, which is refreshing, which is where you want to be and you know it. But one of the things, Jerome, and this has to do with your 20 years, and that is our addiction. Once we feel the shame and once we feel the guilt and once we know it's there, our bodies and our nervous system, it seems like it likes that comfort of that shame or guilt. And it's like wanting to stay in that, even though it wants to pull away from that. But sometimes it seems like it's like we're pulled or drawn to it, and we like glutton for punishment. You know what I mean? One of the, there's something about guilt and shame. It's kind of like, too, also, when you think about the woman that is going through Oklahoma, number 1 for domestic violence, number 3 on homicide, domestic, currently. But it's like domestic violence where these women get battered or beaten by these men, but then they don't leave. They go back and for some reason just stay with them because they love them. And so how does one stay consistent or realize that consistency is one question. And then what is something that you would say that when those guides are there, or when that is in operation? Like, for me, it's synchronicities. Like, oh, wow, these synchronicities happening. But the 2-part question, one is, can we be attached to our guilt, or can we be attached or something to this, the kind of like the woe is me, Like, can we be attached to any of the stuff that we don't want in our lives?
I will say, I'll say it a little differently, because
Okay.
I really don't believe people create and manifest suffering for themselves purposefully.
Right.
They create it because they really have not been taught. Because if you think about this, like, where would you have learned this anywhere in your upbringing? You really, that feeling good, the better you feel, the better health you experience, and the better things you manifest in your life. And meaning the better emotionally you feel. We're not really taught the importance of our emotions. And things like shame and fear, the reason why, you keep circling back into them is because, one, you really don't understand that they create illness, that when you're in them, they are not manifesting well-being or wellness for you in any type of way, and that you're supposed to feel good. This is something you understood when you first came in as a baby. This is one, and we get socialized out of. We get socialized in our environments, in our institutions. We get socialized out of, but we understand very well as a child. You're supposed to feel good. Things are supposed to work out for you. You are supposed to be loved. You are supposed to be held by life. These are things, and you are adorable and highly cherished. These are things children like babies, they understand. And then they come into systems where the systems try to make us believe that those things are only conditional. So that if you do this and this, then you'll be loved. Or if you do this and this, then you'll be safe. Or if you do this and this and you don't do this and this, then you'll receive, and you'll be lovable, and you'll get what you want. But you understood differently when you first came in. And so you get socialized by socialization and then some traumatization that might happen to believe otherwise, to believe that you're not enough, to believe that you aren't safe in this world, that life doesn't love you as you are, and that just wanting something is enough to receive it. And so these things, you start to get these belief systems, right? That disconnect you from that. Like, for me, one of the things that happened for me was I was a bigger kid growing up, and I was teased a lot for my size, and I was made to feel like because I wasn't thin, I was unlovable and I was undesirable. And that became my way of thinking and believing that carried me well into my adulthood. And that was one of my first disconnections, because that is completely opposite from the way my higher self sees me and thinks about me. It knows that I'm beautiful and desirable as I am. It knows that maybe not everybody is going to see my beauty, but that my beauty is still there and it's undeniable, and that there will be many people that will. It knows that I can get and do and receive love just as I am, that I don't need to change in order to be so, to receive so. But we get these socializations that happen in our lives, and these conditionings that happen that cause us into fear-based belief systems and actions and behaviors, shame-based belief systems and actions and behaviors. And there's nobody teaching you that when you are holding a belief that makes you feel bad when you believe it, and when you're taking an action or making a choice for yourself that feels bad, that doesn't feel uplifting, that doesn't feel soothing to you in some type of way, that doesn't put you at ease, that doesn't make you happy, that is a belief system, and that is a choice, and that is a behavior that you're taking that is disconnecting you from your higher self, and therefore it is disconnecting you from your truth. We're not taught that. And so when you're not, it's I think Ian Van Sant said this before. It's unloving of us to expect ourselves to know how to do something we weren't taught how to do. And this is that. Like, people carry shame and fear, not because they want to, not because it feels good to, not because they definitely don't like it, but they carry it because they've been socialized into it. They haven't been taught how to come out of it. And they haven't been taught why it's so important to come out of it, why it's important to the health of your body, and why it's important to your ability to manifest heaven on earth. And that you are here to manifest heaven on earth. That you didn't come here to experience heaven once you died. You were supposed to experience heaven two ways: in the non-physical, in the spirit, but also in the physical, in the human body. You're supposed to experience it in both dimensions at the same time.
I hope y'all taking notes. I mean, like, I need playback, like a sporting event, so we can play it back. Because I'm pretty sure he could tell us again, but he's in that. He's tapped in, so there's some things that's coming through y'all that you make sure that you are really pulling it in. You have been socialized in the feelings and emotions. You have been socialized within this to hold these things. And one of the first things coming out of Pentecostal and holiness and things of that nature, right? And especially even in evangelical and the nature of today, when it comes to religious beliefs, Christianity per se, is they tell you that you are, right? You are nothing. You are actually worse than nothing. You know, as far as guilt and shame and everything else, like, you need to repent, right? Because you are filthy, you are dirty, you are wrong. And like, a lot of people have been fed that over and over and over again, right? And now we feel bad when we don't. People can feel bad when they don't accept it. I no longer believe it, because I know. But there's certain parts of us still can't hold on, which can lead. It's like, not only can it lead towards illness, but also whenever it comes to going back to this manifesting thing, bring it into the life that we want to have, bringing forth the things in which we desire, we can be blocking ourselves. And it's, you know, as you talking about these things, you know, I remember just how disciplined I'm almost at the age I am now. There's a lot of things that you can, that are just really pour out and be revealed, and just remembering the confusion of love, sir, when it came to discipline and whoopings. And it was like the dichotomy of telling, let's say, a 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, 8-year-old. That's when you're just really trying to get a grasp on what life is, and like, okay, I want to play with my friends. But you get in trouble. You don't even know a lot of times why you are truly in trouble. A lot of times you feel like it would be some made up trouble. Like, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to spank you, so let's see, let me look for a situation. I always felt like let me look for a situation. But I was told a lot, sir. I do this, I'm going to cause some level of pain to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a form of love.
Can I share with you something my guides taught me years back? It's going to be controversial.
No, go for
But
it.
it's going to be radically healing to somebody because it was radically healing to me. On this topic, because like you know, I grew up in a American Black household, and you know, I had whoopings is what we called them where I came from, and all of that, and I received that same statement, right? And I was asking my guides one time in a conversation I was having with them about this, and they said something to me to know that love in this dimension is so often conditional. And what they mean by that is you're falling in harmony with it and out of harmony with it a lot. And so they said in this experience, if your family member or whoever it is that you're having this experience with, if they were to tell you the truth from how it truly is, what they would say was, I loved you. But in this moment, I don't.
Mhm.
And why? And I said, wait a minute. But they do, you know, they do love you. They continue to love you. What is it? What do you mean about in this moment they don't? And they said, well, in that moment, when they are punishing you and whipping you, they are viewing you as you have done something wrong. You are something bad. You need to be punished. And they are no longer in the frequency of love from that perception.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, they are out of alignment with love and therefore are not loving you because they are not in the energy of it to give it to you. They are not in the perception of love to give you love, and they're not in the energy because they feel upset from what you did. They may feel violated by what you did. They may feel angry or whatever, but that is not love energy and it's not love consciousness. So in this very moment, I actually am not loving you. I did love you probably yesterday or before you did this. And I may love you again after this. I may come back into alignment with this later. But in this moment, we are not in love. And this is the same thing for any type of relational thing, not just children, parent, or whatever. But when you're having an argument with your partner or whatever, this really shifted how I understood things. It's like, and you talked about it before, you mentioned this before. This is why loving yourself is an everyday thing. It's not a thing that happens once. Like, I got it and I got it. It's, you're going to have to do it daily because it's an attuning. You're attuning your perception, you're attuning your energy, you're making choices to make sure you're in alignment with this. And some days, that tuning, it just takes a little bit, and some days you have to make a lot of jumps. You got to it's and some days you start the tune, you're not that far out of alignment, and some days you may be further out of alignment and you need to come back into alignment a little bit further. So when you're talking about that, it reminded me of that conversation I literally had with them. They were saying if they told the truth at that moment, if they were able to tell the truth and they really understood, they would say, I loved you. And I think I will love you again. But in this moment, I don't.
Makes sense. I mean,
Based upon, again, what love actually is,
yeah.
which is the consciousness and the
Yeah.
energy of source.
What love actually is. So they're basically getting that word of love confused. Really, it's like, you know, I grew up with that train up a child in the way it should go. And therefore it was like spare the rod, spoil the child. So there was times that it was just this religious ideology was so heavy and strong that there would be times that I don't even want to do this, but I am commanded to do this. So therefore, I have to take up on these opportunities to do this, because if I don't do this, then I'm going to be chastised by God, or kids will be bad. And because I've had this conversation, I was like, man, if you go to a prison, just go to any prison, you know, and you go to some people that are in there for the most heinous crimes, and you ask every last one of them, did you get whoopings? I guarantee you 99% of all the people that are in prison that you were getting beat to not be in prison are in prison because they had a problem with understanding love. And they just knew, you gotta receive this punishment, right? In that misuse of the term love and what it is, you do better. What you just told me basically is you do better if a parent would be like, I don't like, I must say, I will tell it doesn't happen all the time, but I will tell my kids, like, or one particular one, like, I don't like you right now because you are talking back, right? And you get me to this. I really use my words, right? I use my words, and instead of just discipline, I might use explicit words, right? And then explain. It's like, this is an expression because of the fact that you tell me, what am I doing? I'm trying to parent, like, and you don't want to receive my parent. So I'm really try to do more explaining of my emotions and really explaining what happened. And like, this is the reason why, like, you just can't do this because if you do this, this is disrespectful. And a lot of it was like, that old school was just that misguided misuse, if you will. And I granted someone that told me, and they said, as we understand what our parents went through, especially us Gen X, us Gen X's are just like, we don't give a fuck. We will be like, I was telling my wife, we were grown by the time we were 14, we traveling, we doing whatever. 15, we were just, a different group but realizing what our folks went through. Our folks come out of, if you're Black, of course, you're coming out of civil rights era, so that was 68. So they were raised, in the civil rights era. And then, of course, their parents were parents of slaves. And so therefore they just would do these things to us because of the fact that that's what they were taught, and they were taught from the man. And getting a deeper understanding of that, it's an understanding, and that can be healing, but it doesn't mean that you have to not understand your own trauma or not understand what you may be experiencing, therefore, connecting to, as we say, the higher self. I had a vision of the higher self, and it wasn't, when we say higher self, it was like, wait a minute, because I hear from the guides a lot. And I find out a lot from them. The guides tell me a lot, like, not just stuff to do with me. It tells me stuff about the environment, right? It tells me like the ecology, and how things work. And then I'll go research it, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. They'll tell you, and then you can align and find some things to be true. And as we tap in, right? But that higher self, I did it. I had a couple of, I think it was in my private Patreon group, and it showed the self. Like, if we put the self in the center, the higher self wasn't higher. It was still around us. It was like an aura, right? It was like center us, and then soul was like, could be considered like within us, outside of us. And then the higher self could be like outside of that aura, but more of a circular, more of a round, the higher self, which is a frequency. And we tap in and tune into that frequency, and there's things we can do, right, to tap in and tune into that. And if we don't practice, right, or have some form of practice, or have some form of being able to let go whatever that process is, because sometimes people can have troubles with letting go and kind of releasing. What does that feel like? We can be. I say rather it's us being attached. I think it's more of an attachment to us. It's almost like how they talk about something like got a hold of you, and you gotta go through a process, right? To learn to let go, right? Even my thing is even for a moment. Like, even if you just say, you know what, I'm going to practice for this moment. I'm going to let go. I've been doing these higher frequency meditations, and it's just like, I'm going to just let it. I'm going to just use this moment to build up and just to let go, being the I and the am. Look, and it has been revolutionary in terms of what you can experience. If you go back just to some of that time too, does some of the experiences you have still relate to the experiences that you had whenever that last time you were in the hospital and then you went through this, and then kind of makes me think of kind of Joe Dispenza a little bit, you know what I mean? Where you went through this experience, but then you put things into practice. And I guess essentially my question would relate to the practice.
So, what the practice of self-love looks like, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I want to go back really quickly before I detail kind of what I learned the practice looks like, of self-love, or what I call attuning to love. What I call now is attuning to love, the practice of attuning to love. So I want to share with you what I was shown, like the higher self and the soul and this self, what they look like, and why the higher self is called the higher self. So if you think about it, a really good way to think about it is to think about an iceberg. And if you think about, we now know, like the part of the iceberg that you see is you could think about that as the physical part of you that you see. So me, you see the physical Jerome, the brown skin, male, whatever. That's the tip of the iceberg. And the largest part of that iceberg is actually the unseen part that's underneath the water. And it's usually like 10 times the size of what you see above the water. No matter how high that iceberg is, which was underneath is usually 10 times the size of that. And why it's called the higher self is because it is the part of you that exists in, just like that part of you don't see. That part of the iceberg you don't see. This is the part of you that is non-physical. So it's
Right.
not something you see.
Right.
It is you can call it the spiritual dimension. But in the spiritual dimension, it is in the dimension of source. You can call that the dimension of God, if you will. But because it is in that dimension, it holds the energy of that dimension. It holds the energy of source. It is connected to source. It never forgets its connection from source. It never leaves source. So it vibrates always at the vibration of source, which is a very high, high, high vibration of love. And it perceives and thinks about you and about everything that's in your life always from the thought process and the perception of source, which is love. And that is also, it has a very high consciousness and it has a very high vibration. And that's why it's called the higher self, because this non-physical self sometimes does not think from love. It thinks from shame. It thinks from fear. It thinks from what's wrong. It thinks from lack. It thinks from limitation. And those are out of alignment with source. And so when we're talking about loving ourselves and not loving ourselves, what not loving ourselves does is it takes us out of alignment. So you can think about the top of that iceberg like sliding off from the bottom. That's kind of like what starts to happen. Now, if you slide fully off from the top, as like if your physical self slides fully off, you're gonna transition. That's what transitioning causes transition, because the energy of that higher self is what literally sustains life. It is the source of wellness in the body, and it is the source of well-being in the life. And so when you're not in harmony with that, you don't get as much. It's kind of like there's no real like source of illness. It's like it's just illness. The cause of illness is chronic disconnection from the higher self. It's very much like there's no source of darkness in your house, right? Like if you want the house to get dark, you turn off the lights. But that doesn't, when you turn off the light switch, it doesn't automatically send like inky darkness into the sky. It puts a resistor on the light. It puts a resistor on the electricity flow that allows the light. And when there's resistance to the light doesn't shine through and it produces dark. So this is the same thing again, going back to illness. Illness shows up when there's a resistance to the consciousness and the vibration of the higher self. You have thoughts and you're making choices for yourself. You're living a lifestyle that are making you out of alignment and resist the flow of the energy and the consciousness of your higher self. So loving ourselves puts us in alignment, right? Well, I said that before. Loving ourselves is literally the practice of choosing thoughts, making choices, and living a lifestyle that puts you in alignment with your higher self so that you emit the consciousness and the frequency of love. So what does that look like? What does that take? You got to think about things that feel good to you. You got to think about things that feel good to you when you think about them. And you have to think about the things in your life in a way that makes you feel good about them when you think about them. And if you can't think about them in a way that feels good about them, you need to not think about that and put your attention on something else. So for example, one of the things I learned about was one of my splits where I was splitting off and I was put in resistance to my higher self was I had a lot of shame, right? I told you about I had a lot of shame around my body, and how that produced itself was I felt unattractive. I felt undesirable, and I felt like something was wrong with my body. And that was from the teasing and everything that I had received from being a thicker kid when I was young. Well, that is completely opposite from how the higher self feels, right? It feels good about my body as it is. It feels I'm attractive and lovable as I am, and that I'm not less than in any way. And so in order to get myself in resonance with that, and so here's the other thing about this, that really important part I want to say, because this is a really big part of my journey. Illnesses and diseases that manifest, I talked about how they're mirror reflections of the energy you're carrying. So one of the things like I love to have people do is, have them go into their illness and look at, how does this illness make me feel? The experience of this illness. I'm not talking about physically, like I'm not talking about it makes me feel tired and drained. A little bit of that I want to talk about, but emotionally, how does this make you feel? And when I looked at AIDS made me feel unattractive. It made me feel unlovable. It made me feel like something was wrong with my body. Well, that's how I had been feeling ever since I was 5 years old. right? And this is the thing about disease. It starts in the energy. You hold that energy for a very long time, because the body is very resilient. It's very resilient before it manifests discomfort. But you have discomfort in the vibration first. And then eventually you have to wear the discomfort on your body. You have to wear the vibrational discomfort on your body eventually. And it's going to match exactly. So like I have clients who have, I remember a client I had who had breast cancer. And when I was talking to her, I could clearly see, because again, this is my intuitive gifts. I can clearly see what it was, but I don't like to just give you what I'm seeing, because that's disempowering you. I want you to be able to tune into it for yourself, so that you can always hear your own wisdom. And what it was very clearly to me, and what she was eventually able to get to, was she wasn't feeling attractive as a woman and wanted as a woman and lovable as a woman anymore. She had had a lot of rejection from men in her life. The loves of her life had left her, and she was starting to feel unnourished by her life, and unloved and unworthy as a woman. And that and when she tuned into how breast cancer made her feel, it made her feel that same way. And I was able to help her see, like, where else have you been feeling like this? Because the disease doesn't show up first. It's the last thing that shows up. And she was able to see, oh yeah, I had been feeling like this for years. And I just hadn't really healed those feelings. So I was like, yeah, this is it. And when we began to work on, so what does it look like returning those feelings to love, right? So that means instead of feeling unworthy, you feel worthy, you feel lovable, you feel valuable as who you are, you feel celebrated and very satisfied with who you are as a woman. When she began to do that and began to feel that, it healed. Because when you remember, love energy is the source of wellness. So when you begin to embody it and you begin to radiate it, it heals the body, because it is the source of wellness. So again, loving ourselves is how you perceive something. Perceive it from love. How you perceive everything in your life and everything about yourself. You've got to work to perceive that in a way from a space of appreciation, a space of gratitude, from a space of satisfaction, and from a space of happiness in some way. Making choices for yourself every day, like choose to do the things that uplift you, that make you feel happy, that make you feel good, that make you feel a sense of gratitude, and that put you at ease. And live a life. This is the big one. This is the big thing. There's really just 3 parts of love. It's about your perception of loving the self. It's about your perception, the choices and behaviors that you're offering, and the overall lifestyle that you're living, including the work you're doing. Is it helping you emit love? Are you fulfilled? Are you happy? Are you passionate and eager about your life and the events and people and places and things on your life? Do you feel a sense of satisfaction with it? Do you feel a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for it? And that part of that is, yes, about what you're doing, but also a large part of that is how you're viewing what you're doing. And yes, the baths and the shopping sprees, some of that can sometimes help you, right? But a lot of times, why I often say, like, it's not self-love a lot of times is because here you are buying this bag, taking this massage, getting this hot bath, but you're still in heavy fear about how things are going to work out in your life. You're still not feeling good about your body. You're still hating the job that you're in. You're still not fulfilled by the relationship that you're in. You're in a lot of stress, right? So those actions aren't really love because they didn't tune you to love, really. While you have all these other things that are disattuning you from love, they're getting you out of alignment more. So you got to think about the wholeness of your being. And we've been taught to think about just our physical selves when we think about love. We think I'm eating the green. This is another reason why I'm a huge teacher for anybody that follows me. But I'm saying your diet is not enough to heal you. And this goes so against what a lot of the wellness community will say. And they'll think, as long as I drink the green juice, as long as I'm taking the herbs, I'm eating alkaline, I'm doing all this, I'm going to heal. And this is why we have countless people who have done all of that to the T, and they are not healing. Or if they heal, the thing comes back bigger the next month or 2 months later, because they haven't really addressed where they're out of alignment with love. And you can eat all the blueberries you want. You can drink all the green juice. You can do all the detoxes and all the fasts. But if you are in chronic shame and chronic worry and chronic unfulfillment and disappointment or frustration or resentment, you are out of alignment, and that external thing cannot heal the internal disconnection.
That external thing cannot heal that internal disconnection. Internally disconnected.
It's the relationship between you and you. The relationship, what is the relationship you have between this you and the source you, the higher self you, the love you? What is your relationship with that? That love you never changes. It does not come down. It's not going to join you, and you can be like, but he really did that. He really pissed me the hell off. It's not going to come yeah, he pissed you the hell off. F him. It's not coming down there.
Right.
It's not. It's gonna stay in the place of, we're sorry that happened to you, but all is well. You're lovable. He's lovable as well. And we want you to find resonance with how we're feeling over here. That may mean you need to go somewhere. You need to separate yourself and pull back and not speak to him and not think about him for a minute, and go do some stuff that you like, and go get around people that love you, and go watch things that make you laugh and raise your energy. It may mean that. It may mean distracting yourself from that for a second to get yourself back in attunement. But your higher self never joins you lower. It never does that. That's why it's always called the higher self. It never comes down. And so when you go into discomfort in how you're thinking about things and feeling about things, you are split every time. Now, it's okay. It doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen that don't cause you to split for a second. But the problem comes in when you do not heal the split. You stay split. This is what this world is about. This dimension is sometimes, this is why this is the conditional world. There will be some times that are going to cause you to kind of dip out for a minute, and then you have to make your way back. The quicker you make your way back, the better. But sometimes it's incrementally, right? If something happens that makes you feel really disempowered, you're not going to go to happiness in the next 30 minutes. The better feeling from that, right? The step up the scale that comes up to attunement is probably you're going to get really pissed off. But that's the step up. But you can't stay for 2 weeks in the piss off of this. Because you're split. You got to incrementally every day walk yourself up the scale a little bit. Sometimes you're going to take 5 steps up, but a lot of times it's just 1 step. And it's not that you won't get split. It's that the split stays chronic. that's when the suffering starts to manifest. And if we're suffering, it is a direct sign in any type of way, whether we're suffering in the body, in the finances, in our relationships, at our work, that we have a chronic split somewhere in how we're thinking about things and how we're feeling about things and the choices we're making.
Can it be in our life? They say Earth is the hard school. Can it be in our lives as a teacher, as we get through this, it still can take us out? Like,
you're going to get, this life is supposed to, this is what's called, what a lot of people will call contrast, because contrast helps you grow. Because when you have that split, what a split ends up doing a lot of times is it makes it clear to you what you really want instead. So when somebody pisses you off, you realize, oh, I want more peaceful relationships and more peaceful interactions in my life, right? And so that allows your soul to grow, because the other part of this that I learned after my near-death experience about the higher self is whenever you want something, whenever you truly desire something, even if you don't voice it, it comes out energetically, right? Just like, again, somebody I really love pissed me off. I don't want to stay in pissed offness with them. I want to be back in the love energy. I want things to go well. That's a desire that's sent out. And the higher self becomes the version of you that has the reality of that desire fulfilled. And so this is important to know too, because when you then do not begin to think and feel in alignment with this being done, you're also split. You're also split. So the things that let's say you wanted to be a writer and you saw yourself writing a book. This is something that I saw from my own journey. My higher self became the version of me that's an author. And the version, it thought like that version and it vibrated like that version. But when I was scared and procrastinated and was worried about what people would think and all that, and I wasn't allowing myself to attune to that version of me, I was split. And that also causes illness. So your higher self becomes, this is an ask and it's given universe. It's an ask and it's given. You are loved. So when you ask for something, whether you ask for it with your words, you ask for it with just a feeling that comes forth from you, it's given to you, and it's given to your higher self. So it's given to the consciousness and the energy version of you, and it becomes that version. And then it starts to call you. It starts to send you insights. It starts to send you yearnings and callings to think certain way, to do certain things so that you could join it and so that it could become more of you. And when you don't go, you split. And that split is not benign. It's not. It's not benign in any way.
Is that where you say, be careful what you ask for?
It's more, I wouldn't say be careful what you ask for. I would say become what you ask for. Because it's already done. And if you don't become it, in energy and consciousness, that version of you has a way that it thinks and a way that it feels in the world. And it is different than this version of you sitting here. And the moment you want it, a part of you becomes it. And now you have to be on your journey of becoming that version of you. So you don't have to be careful because it's not coming to attack you. If you want to be careful, you need to be careful of not becoming it, because that's what's going to cause the suffering.
Right. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
It's about, it's a wholeness, right? So this part of you is real. It's as real as rain. It's as real as rain. It's just not the part that you can feel, see, and touch yet. You can feel it, but you can't touch it with your hands and things. You can feel it in the energy. And so this is why, visualization is really important. You want to be an author, visualize yourself being an author. And how do you move? How do you talk? How do you feel? And then bring that vision forward into your life now. How do you bring that vision as much as you can forward into now? How do you think like that now? How do you speak like that? How do you make choices like that? And the more you do that, the more you're bringing that version into harmony with you, and you become it. And it becomes real. But the more you don't, you're in disharmony. And that version, by the way, your higher self never unbecomes it. It never unbecomes it. Unless that thing is no longer important to you, unless you really are like, you're like, I thought I used to like that, but really, truthfully, I really, really want this. But if it's something you still want, and you still want because it calls you at night, it's what you think about when you go to bed, it's what won't let you go, it's the yearning you still have, that's how you know that's a part of you that is that, and it's not letting go. Because that's you. Until you make a choice that that's not you anymore. And not because, I'm tired of being split from it, but because this really just isn't what I feel is really juicy and delicious for me. I really think I really want to do this. Like I used to think I wanted to be super famous, a super famous singer. Now I know I want to sing. I want to sing, and I love singing, and I love performing, but I don't have to be the next Beyonce. That's not something that's really important to me, right? So that changed. That actually changed for me. So my higher self is no longer that, but it is the version of me that sings a lot and gets really fulfilled by what he's singing and where he's singing. But that's the thing to really understand that's also not taught, is that your higher self becomes the version of your dreams. It becomes the version of you that lives it now, in the now. And you have to harmonize with that version of you to be whole, or you will not be whole, and you will start to be dysfunctional.
So if you have some dysfunction in your life,
you're not being your full self.
Woo!
You're not being your full self some type of way.
You're not being your full self. And a lot of that is where I think people that are in deconstructing phase, right? Kind of letting that go. It's really powerful. I think you're going to have way more people deconstructing with Christian nationalism and all this other version where it's like, oh, how could this be I don't feel the love. That's one thing, regardless. I don't care what anyone say. It's like, whatever belief system it is, I don't care. If you feel love from that, I don't feel any love.
Well, that's the whole purpose of anything, right? Any of our actions and our involvements that we take, our actions we take, or the involvements we involve ourselves in with, the real purpose of them is to help you get more in alignment with your higher self some way. And if they are not doing that, if you're not becoming more in alignment, and when you become more in alignment because you feel good, you feel emotionally, you feel free, you feel happy, you feel satisfied, all the things I've talked about, you feel those uplifted and at ease feelings. If your spiritual path, and it doesn't matter what it is, there is no one right way for you, the one right way for everybody. There is one for you. And the one that is for you is the one that puts you most in alignment.
Is your book by you?
I can lean over really far and get it.
Yeah, okay. I want you to get it. Get your book. Because I want you guys to go to his website there. It is rich. It is full of a lot of stuff. He is headquartered, I believe, in Oklahoma City. Only Feed Me Life. And there's some poetry, right? That's in there.
Uh-huh.
Is there any short pieces?
There are some short pieces.
Let's get one of them.
Oh, okay. Give me a second.
He is in Oklahoma City headquartered, and I'm in Tulsa. And so when we have a retreat, I would like to be able to afford to bring him in so you guys can, so we can just be in the presence. All right. I want you to read something from that, sir. Here, let me do something for you.
All right. I just opened it to whatever. So this
Yep.
is a message. This is the message for someone. It's called, Do You Believe in Reincarnation? Do you believe in reincarnation? He asked me. Of course, I say, for I have died 1,000 times already in this one lifetime, and found 1,000 more ways to come alive again. This me here is not the me that began. He is different, new, but still remembering all the lives he had to live and let die to get to be here now, able to experience love with you.
So we thank you, appreciate you, honor you for taking heed to the call on your life. And may this day be just that more giving, and your call be elevated. I follow people such as Joe Dispenza, for instance, and Gaia Folk and different ones, right? That have done different things that have become fairly known. But one of the things that I know for sure is people need healing. They need to learn how to heal. And I appreciate you for taking heed to that and sharing this gift, sharing the gifts with us. You guys go to JeromeBraggs.com. His book, I believe, most likely is on Amazon also. But go to his website. He's got some things for purchase there. He's got his book. And the other thing I would like to offer to is if you would like to just send him some cash, some money, we can do that too. And because he's going to be forced to give me his Cash App, which is $
J Braggs 40. The letter J, the name Braggs, Braggs, the number 40.
J Braggs 40. J Braggs 40. So if you just would like to just send something, we're going to do that. We're going to send him something. We're going to go to his website, research, look at some things. He's got some clothing and he's got some courses. And so he has been adopted into the expanded consciousness community. He doesn't have a choice. He's here. And I will call him one of the resident intuitives, healers, especially intuitive medical healer. So if you know anyone that is experiencing that, needs that, please do not hesitate. Don't hesitate. Thank you so much. I love you guys. We appreciate you. Look in Patreon for any updates that we're going to have going on. This book for this month or next couple of months within the community is Signs by Dr. Tara. She just released a book called Signs, and about her experience with her husband that actually transitioned, and they're in communication, and she's a neuroscientist and had to explain, like, hey, this happened. But go to the community, patreon.com/expanded consciousness community. We'll try to get some things for you, Jerome, so you can just get in there, dig around, and just be a part, right?
Thank you.
I'm all about really connecting, especially people that bring something to all of us that is a gift. So, Deidre, you have anything?
I just wanted to say hi to my Morehouse brother. You were phenomenal tonight, sir.
Thank you.
Listen,
Love to my sisters.
Listen, Morehouse is great everywhere, and I love it. I love that. I love what you're doing. So
Thank
we'll
you so
connect for
much.
sure.
She went to that place called, is it Spellman or Spielman or?
I can
You know
tell
what?
that's my sister. I know it. We got to talk about homecoming. So yeah, we need to connect.
Yes, we do. See there? See?
Well, I mean, hey, y'all represent in here.
We do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the Spellman House love is real. So
Yeah.
you're doing wonderful work. So I can't wait. We're going to connect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I
We're
look
on
forward to
DC
it.
too. Y'all got that DC connection.
Yeah.
That was home.
Absolutely. DC is home for me. So yeah.
That's cool. Man, isn't that neat? Synchronicity.
I love
All
it.
right, look, y'all, we love you.
Yes.
Thank you. Go and jump on the Patreon. And we'll see you next week. All right.
Y'all.
Bye-bye.